On my left, I have Prasoon. Prasoon's a dear friend of mine. We met at the Hub too many years ago. Prasoon Kumar is an architect and urban designer and the CEO of Billion Bricks. He has worked in many different countries, India, USA, Hong Kong, Singapore, over the last 10 years on architecture, master planning and regional planning projects. So last year, he also quit his corporate job and he started Billion Bricks in order to completely commit to the homeless cause. And I read here that Billion Bricks is an international and multidisciplinary non-profit organization which aims to improve the quality of life of the homeless through the power of design and good architecture. So I'm personally very inspired by Prasoon. His project is really one that has touched my heart. Also because, I've seen homeless situations around the world. And for me, it's an inspiration to see someone actually go deeper, with his skill sets, his gifts and his talents to put it for a good cause for, pretty much people who really need the support. So with that, I will probably let Prasoon do a very brief 3 to 5 minute introduction, and then I will go on to introduce all of you to Prasoon.
All right, thank you, Audrey, and thank you everyone for coming for this event. Just to add to what Audrey just mentioned about Billion Bricks, our vision of the organization is to end homelessness in the world. We believe that having a roof over your head is the first step towards empowering people with either education or better job skills, or to bring about poverty and create an equitable field where they can all have a competitive edge to try and uplift themselves. And we know that we don't have the ability as an organization to go and build homes for everyone who needs a home in the world. So we want to be a forum or an enabler which innovates new ideas and actually transcends communities by transforming those ideas into those communities and let them grow. So for example, one of the projects we are doing is in Cambodia, where we went in and built 2 new houses with a new technology in Cambodia. And we transferred all the knowledge into the community, and now they are building around 70 of those houses on their own, and we think it will continue to replicate to become a much larger movement there. So our focus is a lot on design, innovation, and on the quality of buildings that we do. So we never do start buildings thinking they have to be the cheapest or the most affordable. We look at what is aspirational for the people, what is good for the environment, and what is something that would last for a long time and would be transformational. So we've been actually operating for 2 years now, and we've been operating in Southeast Asia, in Cambodia, Malaysia, Indonesia, working in India, and in Nepal as well. So thank you for having me here, and looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you. So I won't have to introduce Lai Hock, because he's got an advancing introduction. Maybe Lai Hock just share a little bit more about Jie Hui, Ken? Just a little bit more, because I think Lai Hock very kindly shared about his story, but I think it'd be really great for you guys to learn and kind of understand, what Jie Hui does.
Okay, I thought I shouldn't have to say. Okay, now, when I started Ground Initiative, I really want to bridge the disconnect between the urbanite and to the soil. Because with more than half the world population live in the cities, and with urbanization, digitalization, and modernization, really, you can talk about anything, right? But until you go back to the soil, then you can really understand the true meaning of life. I invite you to do that. And of course, as I built this community, I wanted to use this platform to tackle many social issues in Singapore. So people always sometimes very confused with Jie Hui. They say, what are you trying to do? I'm also trying to ask myself, what am I trying to do? The biggest thing is that I want to nurture a rooted and resilient community, and so that we can go and create a sustainable future through what I call the 21st century kampong culture. Because culture is really defines a lot of things. You cannot talk about sustainable future just by technology and policies alone. So that's in a nutshell we do, and of course, I think we made headlines last year after we fought for 2 years. We acquired, leased from the government, a 2.6 hectare of land. It's the first of its kind in Singapore. I'm still trying to raise a lot of money to build it. Still resist my urge not to borrow money from government. People say, take money from government lah. I say no lah. I don't know how long I can say no, but please pray that I will say no continuously. Okay, I think that's about it. Interested? Come and join our Balik Kampung program every Saturday. My volunteer manager is there. Hi, just wave your hand. Yes, a lot of GUI people are here. Thank you very much. Thanks.
I still probe Lai Hock a little bit more. Can you please share a little bit of what Balik Kampung is all about?
Okay, Balik Kampung program I started since 2008. I wanted people to come together through the power of community, farm our food, harvest, cook together, do craft, and of course as we get more and more people who come from all walks of life, all discipline, you can do a lot of things. Innovation, electronic, like our young man there, he used our place to test face record things, very technology, very techy stuff. We also do humanitarian stuff. So practically in Grounded Initiative, you'll find people like elderly, retiree, taxi driver, driving instructor, hawker, don't speak English, to the other spectrum, scholars, families, delinquents, really coming together, and regardless of who you are, just come and work together. And as you work, you learn how to farm your heart and become more grounded. So, happen every Saturday. Of course, every day we also have, but Saturday is the day we open up to everybody. So, for more information, check out our Facebook and like our Instagram.
Thank you. So we also have Jie Hui here today. Jie Hui is part of the Sustainable Business Team and Futures Practice in Firm Singapore Future Centre. And she helps businesses in the region to use trends, visions and scenarios to map out their route to a sustainable future. So she's the founding member of the APAC office in Singapore, and personally I've been very inspired by the tool that Futures Forum has used before, also because it's quite a special tool to help you map out scenarios and life events that you can then take into account to how they actually affect the future. So Jie Hui will probably share a little bit more. And Jie Hui is here today also as representing a conscious consumer, or a consumer that's on her way to consciousness, because the truth is we all are, right? No one is like absolutely 100% conscious consumer. I was personally very inspired by her when I spoke to her, also because of her awareness for the earth and the environment, but how our actions actually contribute to carbon emissions and carbon footprint. So Siew will probably share a little bit about that. And over to you.
Thanks, Audrey. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm really humbled to be on this panel. I must say that actually I went and volunteered at Balik Kampung maybe 3 years ago, and that was before I joined Farm for Future, and I think it just made me really clear what I want to do with my life in terms of my job. So sitting next to Lai Hock on the panel is quite amazing. So I'm Jie Hui, and I guess I represent conscious consumers of Singapore today, but I am, like Audrey said, on the journey towards it. I don't think personally right now it's possible for me to actually a completely conscious consumption life in Singapore. I mean, I try to buy less and buy more, but But let me speak a bit about what Farm for the Future is, just because that's my day job and I always want to do it. So we are a UK, we were founded in United Kingdom 20 years ago. The office in Singapore started 2.5 years ago. I was the first Singaporean employee. We are a non-profit, but what we do is very much sustainability advisory. And we work with the bad guys, the big businesses, like the Unilever's, everyone trying to sell you all the things. Because we believe that businesses to be part of the solution. Ultimately, you can't ignore them. They are still going to exist. They have a huge amount of power and influence. And at the recent Paris, just a few days ago, they managed to sign the thing, and a lot of it we felt was because the businesses have stepped out to say, we are going to be willing to get ambitious about sustainability. So this is kind of my boring day job, but thanks to the fact that we use futures, which is very much about imagining what the world will be like 20 years from now. And that's how we ask businesses to think, in 20 years' time, do you really think your consumer is going to think the way they do today? Do you really think that a lot of these kind of environmental impacts are not going to have a real business impact on your company? So that's how we kind of push it out. And because of my work, I get to do very fun stuff. My colleague Dorothy's in the audience as well. We have a feature center, and we actually look out for kind of interesting things that are happening out there. And I'm like really happy that as a Singaporean, I feel that in the last 3 years there have been so many things happening here that I can use as examples of innovations, examples of what we call like signals of change. To really say that this part of the world, Asia, which has always been seen as behind in sustainability, is really stepping up and almost going to leapfrog, I would say, the West in terms of coming up with innovative solutions for sustainability. So being in this job has just made me, you can't, like I was saying in the conversation, you can't be preaching and asking people to do all these things and then not do it in your own daily life. So I must say that I wasn't probably previously a very kind of, I didn't think much about the food that I ate. I don't like shopping anyway, so thankfully that means I don't have a huge impact. But I didn't think much about where my things were coming from. But thanks to my job, I think I'm much more aware and I'm trying my best to consume more consciously. So that's me. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally we have Lance. Lance is the founder of Gift and Take, which was founded in 2006. And upon Lance's return from a missionary trip to home for the physically disabled in Indonesia, he really wanted to find a more sustainable way to serve different communities. And so he started GET in short form for Gift and Take, a business enterprise that will deal either directly with disadvantaged people or through audited agency sheltering them to create handcrafted products matched to their skills. So with that, Lance also has a booth at the back where you can see showcasing some of the products that he's created with the communities in Singapore locally. So with that, Lance, please share your story.
Thank you. Actually, I like this begin with kind of what Lai Hock touched on, which kind of touched me. He said, when he asked the question, right, how many of you are slave to money, right? And everybody puts their hands up. That we're not slave to money. But the reality is, unconsciously we are. I think that's the truth. Because whilst we know it logically that we're not slave to money, but in your actions, in your unconscious actions, or in your unmindful spending, you are sometimes a slave to money. Because you look at your purchases and what drives your decisions. And you reflect how conscious your decisions are. Actually, most consumers are not rational. Actually, my basic degree is economics. So we like to assume that consumers are rational. That's the assumption we make. But the reality is that they are not rational. If not, everybody will start making a lot of money because we can predict exactly their behavior. Right? And I think on that note, I think that's exactly where Gift and Take had been actually a place of formation for me, in the sense that I can understand why Lai Hock is also showing the videos more of his journey towards Ground-Up Initiative, because I think really that is the journey of uncovering myself. And I think the journey of consciousness is the key one, because I think on the journey, it begins with your heart being affected. And a lot of times we resist our hearts being affected because we don't like to be in a vulnerable space. Because, for example, you see a destitute person right in front of you, I can bet you the first reaction is your eyes avert. Okay? Rather than to allow yourselves to be affected. Because actually, when you can allow your eyes to be affected, it will change your way. Because when your eyes avert, you walk away. But when your eyes allow yourself to be affected, be changed by that person, it changes the world. And so indeed, the transformed person transforms. And so, as I like to reiterate the point that Audrey makes, that really it's your change. And I thought when I started Gift and Take, I was this, same thing, I left a big corporate job and I was in petroleum and I was working for a listed firm as my last job. But, the reality is that when I first came into Gift and Take, I wanted to do this, I was actually firstly touched by the handicap orphans I met in Indonesia. They really changed my life. So if you talk about leadership, right, those are real leaders because they have changed you. And I think that's what real empowerment is. Because I think if you really want to change the world, you need to allow to listen to the stories of others, because that will change your narrative. And I think one of the key things for me really is that on that journey, I thought that when I first started, the ego is still there. I thought that when I started Give and Take, it's too good. I want to change the world, right? This kind of mindset. But I didn't realize that only halfway through it, I realized that actually it's not me that hope to change the life of these people, but I realized that the only way I could continue doing the organization was that these people have changed my life. And I think it is the path of humility, the path of downward mobility, so to speak. As Lai Hock is saying, you need to live simply, their last quote. Because they taught me to live simply. Because in that non-profit job, I didn't have a secretary, I didn't have a staff team, I was the driver, I was the coffee boy, I was everything I did. But if I did not take those roles and understand them deeply myself, I wouldn't be able to really feel and understand for the groups. And I think it's only the people that I work with have had such inspiring lives that inspired me to continue down this path. And I think for me, it's kind of molded my mission to now want to live more consciously. I think my mission now is about spreading authenticity. How do we become more and more authentic as an individual? Because it begins with first being honest, and the journey is from honesty to authenticity. And I think that's kind of my journey so far, and I like what I heard you say about bridging gaps. And so one of the statements which I've come at this point in my life is that I can see how Give and Take and consciousness actually helps to look at bridging the gap between the spiritually poor in the marketplace and the real and material poverty in the world, because I think that both of them need each other. It's not that the poor need us, we need them. I think that's a fundamental bridge that we need to cross together as a society.
I'm personally really inspired listening to all of you. And so, okay, let's look at it for a moment, right? Because you say once that the journey of authenticity begins with honesty. So, okay, I'll start with honesty first myself. So I've never always really been a very conscious consumer. So when I was 18, all I did was shopping, party, right? And bags, clothes, shoes, you name it, I have it. Every week I'm just shopping. And Eileen Chu, the founder of 77th Street, actually made a comment recently, and she said, do you think that you actually wear a brand, or does a brand actually wear you? Do you wear the brand, or do the brand wear you? Right? And so that kind of got me thinking around this. And for me, I've never always really been a conscious consumer when I was growing up. But I guess through this journey in PlayMoolah about mindfulness and being very mindful about how you spend your money, how you save, how you manage your money, that's the part that has kind of shaped my thinking to start questioning where my money is going to. And I think more importantly, why am I spending all this money? Is my identity actually built in material things? On branded goods? These were the questions that I started getting triggered to thinking about when we started PlayMoolah. So, on this note, I'd just like to ask the panelists, because we all come from a place, right, from before. Have any of you kind of struggled, with being mindless about consumption or mindless in consuming things? And how has that shifted and changed? And I think Lance, you talked about, being in a petroleum company. So maybe I'll just ask you to kickstart first, if that's okay.
Actually, my weakness is I love cars. I love to drive, but I don't own a car in that sense. But the irony is that I've got a lot of good friends who know I love cars, and every time they go on a holiday, they let me car sit. But I guess that's part in my life too, nice corporate travel, big 5-star hotels, and really enjoying life in that sense. I use an apartment too, but I don't own anything now. I don't own a house, I don't own a car, I don't know anything. I think the biggest thing that helped me back then was a mortgage. I know when I was a young man, I committed, being this really ambitious person, before I was 30, I committed to a private apartment on my own, and that really stopped me from living my dream, and then when I found it. And so I can understand what consumerism is. I was actually kept to a high-paying job because I had to pay a mortgage, like a slave to it. And I think to be conscious is to begin, I hope the young begin to know when you make decisions that a mortgage is not something, it ties you, there is an impact. It can stop you from living your dreams. I'm not saying that you should be footloose and not care, but I think it's how do we discern and how do we live out our truth. I think that really is the journey. Okay?
Thank you. Anyone? I can say something. I just actually got off a business class flight to come for this. So, I think everybody enjoys nice things. I think there's no denying that, and in our world today, we link luxury to actually good design and good experiences. I don't think that good design and good experiences need to be necessarily luxury. They need to be expensive, need to be accessible only to people who have the money to pay for it. So that's just a thought. But I mean, in terms of the journey towards consciousness, I don't think, I can't imagine how as an 18-year-old I would have thought much about things that I was buying either. So for me, I actually watched this video, which I believe many of the audiences, people in the audience would have heard about, in a class in university. It's called The Story of Stuff. And literally it was just, it's a US-based video. So it talks about the US supply chain and all that. But I think it's highly applicable to Singapore. It's all about the story of how something gets in the supermarket before you buy it. And I think it's only a 5-minute video or something like that. But in 5 minutes, I was just so struck by all the unseen things that goes on behind every single thing that you buy. And it just started making me question every single thing. It's one of those things where you learn so much about it, it destroys your fantasy and illusion. So after you learn about tourism, you can no longer travel and feel like okay with it. But that was, I think it's kind of really small things, and really that's why, to me actually, I feel that communication or being able to tell a story powerfully can change individuals. So sometimes we do things like that, and it sounds like, you might be telling people who are reading that way, but I feel that communication, just because I personally was changed by a video, like a YouTube video of this, then I feel that if that video could have changed me, it started making my life, me really think more about my own consumption patterns, then a lot of the stuff that we are putting out there has the power to do the same things, including the GUI world and so on.
Maybe I'll add to what you mentioned about mindless consumerism. I think it's a lot to do with peer pressure as well. So when you see others buying and you don't want to be left out, and or you want to be up in the race to ensure that you are carrying the same clothes or carrying the same kind of cars or have the same level of cars. And it's very hard to detach away from it, right? I mean, for us, for anybody in today's world, your measure of how well you are doing in your life or how well successful you are in your profession is a measure of what consumable items you have typically, right? So how big your house is, how big your car is, or what kind of clothes you wear. And those are the benchmarks which are easily identifiable to others, as opposed to things which are more maybe emotional in terms of how satisfied you are or how happy you are, which are very hard for anybody to reflect, right? And this is something which drives a lot of the economy as well, and this is what a lot of companies and businesses thrive on, in creating that insecurity amongst a lot of us to force us to consume more and more. And for me, it was actually, I kind of detached myself from a lot of these things much earlier than 18. But it's very hard for me to expect them from a lot of other people, right? So my family, it could be my parents, my wife, my kids, like how can I expect them to be able to think how I think as a person? But my actions do have an influence on them, right? So when I started Billion Bricks and it being a non-profit organization, all of a sudden for everybody in my family, my friends, they started to feel that I'm actually taking myself and my family backwards. So it's more regressive for me as a professional, just because financially I'll not be doing as well as a lot of other people. While not looking at what growing a new business would mean, or what growing a non-profit would mean, and what would that mean for the rest of the world. So those are not measures that we account for. And I think that's a very hard thing to overcome in today's life. And I mean, I personally am faced with these questions every hour, both for myself, for the team members, and for the people that we are working as well, as to what is the right balance. And I don't know if I have an answer to that.
I
maybe I came from a poor background. I had to start working since 9 years old, so I've never been really tempted to spend. And it's also because when I was 17, 18, I went to Singapore Social Service and signed, and I was sent to Geylang Lorong 17 at the time Metropolitan Wednesday, and I've been involved with them and the Boys Brigade, and always have to be very frugal about money, so there's never. But I want to share a couple of things just to put things in perspective. Now, I'm very frugal. Those people know me, but that doesn't stop me from. For example, this shirt that I'm wearing, I bought less than $6 Singapore in Chiang Mai. It's nice, right? I mean, and this pair of shoes, I didn't even buy it. A professional was about to leave Singapore, go back to somewhere. He used to be a UN diplomat and lecture in the law school in Singapore. He said, I don't want to bring this back, but you take it. I said, look at it, well, it feels nice. I wore it 3 years gone, I'm still wearing it. I don't feel embarrassed about it. So I think it's about authenticity and honesty about how do you look at things. I will tell you honestly about it. But if I were to buy things for myself, I believe in buying a good one that will last me a long, long time. Versus a lot of people, they say buy a good one and then they just use it for 1 time, 2 times and leave it. For example, when I started backpacking, I really did my research. I had never backpacked for so long, so I went to look for, so in the end I bought a New Zealand backpack. 15 years later, I'm still using it until it gave way last year. And I'm still thinking of sending it back to New Zealand for them to repair. I've got to continue. I believe in buying a durable stuff that will last. Because many times I found people backpacking and the thing will just snap and it just goes like that. I think it's not wise to spend something cheaply, and it's the thing I run with my organization. Sometimes they tell me, how do you know when to spend and when not to spend? I say a lot in common sense, which is not so common these days. So also in another thing about backpacking, I discovered all I ever need is in that 20 kilogram, 70 liter bag. If I cannot put anything in, it's too much for me. And do you know what? I learned how to live this way for 4 years. And suddenly when I came back, I learned how to let go things very easily. Having non-attachment to the things is also something that we talk about mindful consumerism. That means we're consuming. Every day we're consuming something. But what do you consume? Are you mindful what is the decision is about? So I think it's something that there are people always want to make you feel guilty. Hey, I thought you live very frugally. Like how come today I see you spending a very nice meal with somebody? Then I say, well, I didn't buy it, somebody buy for me, right? That doesn't mean I cannot go and enjoy. So don't go on a guilt trip. There will be many people who want to make you feel guilty. I always say, look at me, my size is still this size and I never become so slim, right? 17 years, I don't have CPF, and I don't have a lot of money these days. And the reason why I choose to come back to Singapore, because I really want to tell Singapore, it's very easy to live very frugally in maybe Bali or Chiang Mai, but to live in a city like Singapore, where everybody tells you needs a lot of money to live, I always say I'm a prime example of how I can live with minimum and still look at me, look at my size. I don't think I'm less prosperous as any one of you, right? So this is called the art of living. Thank you.
So I have one question, but before that, ladies and gentlemen who are actually behind, you're most welcome to join us as well in this panel discussion. So feel free to come on over and have a conversation with us as well. So I have a question actually for the panelists because, Prasoon, you mentioned about the balance, right? How do you balance living simply and not having some of the answers? I mean, I don't profess to know everything as well, but I mean, even from Lai Hock's conversation, you're already kind of giving alternatives to how we can live simply. Like for instance, one idea is, have you guys heard of this concept of giftivism? So essentially it's an economy of gifts where people who are part of a community actually share, unconditionally, stuff that's needed. Right? So I learned that giftivism is one way that can only happen when you're part of a community. If you're a no man's island, probably will not happen because no one will probably give stuff to you. But so for instance, giving and sharing is one way of living simply and having an alternative. So in your lives, I'm just really curious, what are some ways or alternatives, that you can practice in terms of living simply?
Okay, so Audrey, I want to get a question right. How to practice living simply? Like you said, being in a community is very important. But I think many of us, I do not know where you live in Singapore. I suspect maybe more than half of you all live in HDB flats. How many of you all really practice first giving something to your neighbor? No? Yes? Okay, never mind. I take it as a yes, because you are here. Now, when I started this journey, when I came back from backpacking, I started doing farming. I'll tell you really, if you really want to practice giving, the best thing is go and grow vegetables. Because when the vegetables start to need to harvest, and then you harvested everything, you cannot consume everything, you know what you need to do? You need to give. So when before I started Jie Hui, the first 2 years, 3 years, I helped a farmer in Lim Chu Kang. And every time they got a lot of vegetables, then I go back, then I go to my neighbor, I knock at the door, then I give it to them. Then they say, how much? I say, no, free. Then they look at me, free? I say, yeah, free, just take. So sometimes the farmers give me a lot of things, I just start giving a lot of things. And after a while, they will always look at this guy, very long hair. I used to be very long hair. Hippies coming around giving free food, Or my neighbors, I lived 27 years in the same apartment, and my neighbor changed 4 times, and they are moving out by the end of this month, so I'll be like the 5th neighbor now. But when a new neighbor came in, I would invite them and say, hey, you come over, I cook for you a meal. But the most recent, they are professional, wife is a lawyer, husband is a CFO. But ever since I cook them the meal, every year, every now and then, they start giving you back things, and they give very premium gift. Just 2 days ago, they gave a very low, a very premium Italian bread that I never seen it before. So I tell you, it's a joy to give. And start doing it your neighbor. It doesn't matter how they look at you and what you give. You start giving until the day people will start giving. I'm a taxi driver because I treat very nice for one time, and because he saw me on this paper, for one day I need to go to very fast CSC. And morning traffic said, give me a lift. $27 including the morning ticket. Say, oh, never mind, I just give it free, just take it. So I tell you, it's such a joy to give. So practice giving. Simple, but effective.
Cool. Okay. I want to pick up on the point about food, just because I feel that, we can talk about consumption. Interesting, somebody told me like, but food is a necessity, right? It's not like you can choose to consume it or not. We definitely need to eat. But precisely because we all definitely need to eat food, I think that's the best place to start. At least for me, I feel like that's something that on a day-to-day basis I have to make a decision about. No matter what, I need to eat, right? So, and I don't cook that much, so I am buying it also already. And so, I feel like at least for myself personally, starting to think more deeply about what I'm eating, along with my colleagues who are also colleagues who are vegetarian and are much more kind of knowledgeable about it than me. But just starting to understand. It's really geeky, but the carbon footprint of beef versus fish versus vegetables. If you go and just Google and look up the internet, you will find that I think eating something like 1 steak is equivalent to eating 20 vegetarian meals. I should not be saying such figures when I'm not sure about it, but basically, I think that food and thinking about what we eat is one of the easiest ways to start. I don't know if it's living simply, but I think being more mindful about what you're doing, because it's also something that I think you're right about when you farm. I have heard so many people who have gone through this very, very simple urban farming experience, just try to grow your own herbs. And when you realize how difficult it is to kind of like to grow something and then to consume it, and the kind of joy that you have when you consume something like just the meat leaves of the meat that you grew in your drink. Then you think about the people who are producing all these crops for us, urbanites, on a mass scale, and what their income is, and how is it that we've come to a world where we are paying such a low amount of price for the kind of food that's being grown by someone else in another country that's shipped all this. It's quite ridiculous. So I just
makes you nuts, right?
It makes me nuts, it makes me angry. But so I think that food, coming back to the question, I think food is one of the best ways to engage with conscious consumption.
Can I quickly hijack this one? I mean, I do not know about you guys, but I met many people who are doing good work. Then you go to food court, they order food, especially ladies. Then they will eat, halfway they cannot finish, they push the food one side. Then every time in the beginning, I look at some of these people, I say, hey, you don't finish, can I take? Look at you like, hey, bloody cheapskate, But in the end, I always tell people, if you cannot finish, why don't you just straight away offer to somebody? Don't waste food, right? So in my community, I always tell people, if you cannot finish, start giving right at the start. I can't finish. So this is very simple tips. Giving doesn't have to be like kindness movement, that kind of thing, you know. So yeah, if you cannot finish your food, you know it's not to be mindful about it, start offering somebody next to you. And I tell you, it works all the time.
Well, some food for thought. But you know, really, I think I like this whole idea when you live simply. I think what you're touching on really, I like the take on food is actually it is about living fully, to receive fully. I think a lot of living simply is we haven't received fully of what the world has to offer. And because you know what, we're quite gluttons like the food, so we don't slow down enough to receive each moment. And I think for me, one of the ways on this journey that helped me to live simply is to really slow down and to receive the goodness of creation in the world. I mean, for me, it helped me to spend a lot of times in reflection and walks because, you know, as Audrey and Lord mentioned, how tough this journey is walking social enterprise. There's so much soul searching going on. I think that taught me to live really simply by receiving more fully, and in the sense that I never become more grateful in my life. Actually, when I have even less. You know, when I have so much, never grateful at all. Just really living this whole life of, yeah, we take things for granted. That's one. Number two is that we think we live this life as if life owes us a living. You know, and I think it's because when I have less, it really made me realize what's really receiving. I could receive from the small things really, and I think those are the things that really are large, gives you hope on the journey. And in fact, I realized that I've never been happier having less. And I think that's kind of what living simply really is about, the spirit of joy.
So I just wanted to touch on one dimension that Jie Hui mentioned that connects to what all of you are actually speaking about and Prasoon as well. Because something that Jie Hui spoke about the farmers earning very little in other parts of the world, like that triggered a thought about being fully connected to the land and fully living fully, right? Because the thing is that I think in our society today, when everything is imported, we essentially get disconnected from the source and the people who actually produce the clothes, the food, the rice, the coffee, the tea, even the house. We get so disconnected from the source. And maybe if I may, I'll just share a little bit as well. So this jacket that I'm wearing is actually created by a founder in Indonesia called Toraja Mellow. And for me, it really blew my mind when I visited this village in Toraja about a month ago, because I got to meet the local women weavers, kind of really on the ground. And these are women who actually live in poverty, but the culture of weaving was essentially regenerated through this founder, who then takes something that's old-fashioned and turn it into something fashionable and bring it to market. So I realized that the entire supply chain of weaving, plus working with the urban poor to put the weaving together, the cotton, and then marketing it, and then bringing it to market, and then telling the story behind it, was such a full-fledged supply chain that let me understood, something as basic as clothing. And it really kind of blew my mind, because what that got awakened in my spirit was this very distinct difference between just buying everything cheap, right, without knowing where it's being produced from and how it's actually being produced from. And we hear about all these different, like factory scares, factory fires and things like that of the big brands around the world. And I ask myself, do I actually know where my stuff is actually coming from? Do I know the conditions in which it's actually being produced? How is my vote on my money, which I spend on actually creating or perpetuating a world that I don't want to see, right? So I'm just kind of really curious, for the panelists as well, like in your own social enterprise, in your own lives, how do you think that, some of the work that you are doing actually contributes to, a flourishing or an equitable world? What are some concrete ways that you feel that, you're actually connecting back to the source, the land, the people? Can you share a little bit around that?
Firstly, I must say that we were given 7 questions, and previous one and this question were not part of those. So I haven't come prepared, and that's why I couldn't answer the previous one. But having said that, I mean, we work a lot on the ground with the communities that we want to influence, right? So for us, the direct connect with the people we work is extremely important. And we have been actually in the last 2 years, we've been trying to increase that connect as well. So earlier when we started, we were working always with some partner on the ground who would kind of buffer us with direct connections. And we're trying to remove a lot of those barriers so we can be closer and closer to the communities. And what that has done for us is that it has influenced our work greatly, right? Not in terms of the change in principles, but in terms of what impact that we want to make. And an example I want to give is that we are working in a village which is very rural and very poor in India. And when we talk about our work and how does it influence in terms of connecting back to the ground, we as outsiders go in and tell people that we need to build buildings which are as sustainable as possible, using local materials, but the aspirations of people are very different. They are influenced by what they see on television, what they see as buildings we come from in Singapore. And it's very hard for them to connect as to why what we are preaching for them is different from what I am wanting for myself. And so what we try and do as an organization is that we try and balance the two by providing something which is aspirational and not basic, but at the same time ensuring that it's future-proof from an environmental or a social sustainability standpoint. So we still use local materials, but we use them creatively such that the impact that it makes in a visual terms or in terms of the quality of spaces is at par with what you might see in some resorts or somewhere else, which are more aspirational and more experiential. So this is on our perspective that we try and ensure that while we try and be different from where you and I would live, but we provide something which is closer to the ground, but at the same time is aspirational and more dignified.
Thank you. Hans?
I think it's kind of weaving. I like the weavings, that story of that. And I think it give and take. It was really. I think when we were doing this project with the Indonesian orphanage, we often, at that point of time, I was running a care, kind of training the trainers program, where I got a group of medical professionals to come down to this village, this orphanage, to kind of help to train the caregivers to better look after the handicapped orphans which had all kinds of disabilities. And I think the project, I kind of realized that they made this batik pieces, and whilst we were staying there at the orphanage, they refused to accept money because we stayed in the orphanage itself. We wanted to pay for lodging and board, but they refused to accept money from us. So one way was I bought lots of batik from them which they made. It was kind of like more handicrafty kind of batik, and I bought so much batik that I had not enough friends to give away to after that. More to support and to pay for our lodging there in a sense. Which actually got me started and made me realize why I bought really was not just to pay for my lodging, but really it's the painstaking kind of work that you see them engage in, which really seized my imagination, and which actually was the foundational thing that helped me kind of change my heart, because I realized that we buy, we consume, and we buy and we throw away. Especially we buy cheap shirts, but when you look at how they do batik, every dot, the processes that they go through for just to come up with one piece of material, made me realize that we waste a lot. And I think that was one of the key things, just to see so much effort and only how much. It's only like $2-3, $3 for a batik that it took so much time to do. And I think that really staggered me. And I think at the point of time I wanted to see how could I help them market the batik at a much higher price, and whether I could get training and all that involved so that it could market something much more valuable, with that kind of time.
So I have been told that time is up, And what we'll do right now is that we're going to do something a little bit more interactive. So the speakers here will actually go into the small groups with you to continue on the conversations, because I know that